Alrighty, well, this is likely to be a little bit wind-blown and noisy. I'll do my best. Had a bit of trouble with the plumbing. Even though there's a bit of a drop here, it's slightly raised inside. But my father noticed this one here when he come in to help me with this, that it was raised up a little bit, and he's sort of right. There's a bit of a warp in it. This is an old one out of the paddock that my uncle's got out of another demolished building years ago, probably in the early 2000s. And I was so busy trying to get it in, and you know, I had glue that wasn't behaving because it was all sticky, and I was worried about getting dirt in the glue, and it had been raining, so I had to get paper towel to dry it off before the glue would go on. I wanted to get it in because it was still raining, and I just had to get it finished. And ultimately it actually lifts up, so I was having a lot of trouble with the sink draining, so I got a little hole saw and drilled in there, and guess what, all of a sudden it behaved itself. As I was going through the drill, the water started coming out just as the hole saw started cutting through, and yeah, I cut it out and now it drains well. Anyway, this is this. Got the back on. So I'm boxing this all up, and just today I've had a few other things to do. I'm going to dental surgery tomorrow, so I had to go and buy some soup and play around with a few other bits and pieces, trying to prepare for the fact I'm going to be almost incapacitated for probably, they say, at least 3 days, if not 4. So yeah, I've just done this here. This is the one I had used previously. That's a 65mm. That's 75, which is 3-inch. That's what this thing was made to fit. Of course, it didn't really matter at the time because it was originally a brick part for the first distance, and then it sort of come out as a heavy steel to here, and then attached to this, and the top of that attached to that little tab you can see up there. So anyway, I've haven't knocked enough bricks back, so I've had to put a actual wood framing attached to the other one, and in that I had to take out a rivet and a screw to get the wood framing up, but the back is into this, and that's on. This is all boxed into my room. I've got another bit that should attach to the wall and out here. I'm going to have to make another bit of sheet metal up, and I've got plenty of sheet metal, but something to sort of cover this as well. So it's got an outer one against the cold outer air that may be close to freezing in winter, and then we've got a bit of a gap, and the actual one that attaches almost as an extension of the bedroom basically. So I had a bit of a paver that had to be smashed out to even get this top in, because we've got a roof in here now, well, a ceiling. So there's the roof, there's the ceiling, and oh wow, was it a shit show. I had to make up this whole rig here out of a bit of spare wood I had, brace her up a bit, hook her to there, and basically they gave us a chance to slide this in, at which point you might know that one of these is higher than the rest. So I had to smash that out with a hammer, and I've now got a pair of homemade pants stuffed in the hole. And bits of, I've been sweeping up the rock from inside my bedroom, but we sort of got her all in. There's a couple of little chips of mortar and rubbish still in that I haven't quite got. Some of that there is actually drilling the hole through there. So it was one hole saw to go through the top, and then a diamond tip one to go through here, and then it still didn't fit because it was a 73mm hole and a 75mm thingo. So I've busted her out just a little bit, and what I might try to do, I've got some lagging tape, so I might put lagging tape there, and I might just make a little ring of some type of, like a you know, bean tin or aluminium can or whatever, or maybe several little strips of metal and sort of almost octagon them around to try and stop too much air getting out there. But I mean, it only gets out to basically the sandwich in between the roof and the ceiling. Of course, that's my metal frame there. You got the same on the other end there, and you should be able to see the yeah, there you go, your timber that it's attached to. And I've got like a bracket there to attach the timber to the actual steel frame, and there's another little tab similar to this one on the bottom up the other end there. So anyway, the real shit show is going to be making, I think I've got to put another piece of wood in here to get something to go over here and end about here, because where this door is a bit too close in for what I would like. If I line this up to the front of here, this door is going to be several inches in. I'm going to have smoke blowing inside. So I think I just got to get a piece of wood like this sort of stuff and just sit at the side there and use that to mount another bit of cement sheet off. And it's going to be a circus trying to get this the right shape. I've still got to stack a bunch of bricks in here to sort of absorb the heat of this. Anyway, that's sort of where this is going. I am pleased as punch. I do have a bit of mortar left. That's the high temperature, I forget what they call it. It's like the fire brick sort of mortar, and I'm going to have to sort of work out, hopefully, I don't need to put too much into there, but I may still need to. We'll see what we can do. Chances are it'll suck most up. I don't really want to. If I can get a bit of this more this fire cement and mix it in with a bit of vermiculite and just pack it in that hole just to sort of seal it off properly. It's going to be a real circus, and I have plenty of spare bits of this sort of fire brick, but I've got to sort of make some sort of a thing here. And I was really thinking between the cement sheet, which can't touch this, otherwise it'll crack with the heat, I might just have it sort of bump, and then get an actual bit of sheet metal and sit it directly on the curvature of this old propane tank. So yeah, that's what we're going at. I may well leave this here just to sort of let out a bit of the smoke of when I do open the door. I might just put a little bit of a cover on the top of this, you know, or a little raised piece that sort of just comes up like that, just to sort of stop any rainwater getting in. This is going to be the top here. I wasn't going to get too fancy with it. I might put a bit of wire, but I don't see a point. And then that piece there has come off of this and it sits down to there, so I'll just wedge that back on the top. But that's fairly stable because of the way that's made. It's actually sitting on the top of the propane tank, and then the rings sort of around that. But yeah, anyway, that's what's been going on with this.